they spend at work in their different disciplines of employment. So that and many more of the talking points is where our focus is going to be on this particular discussion here on the GMU Extra. Joining me is Olive Monica Najuma as we get deeper into understanding, because we need to also understand from our own perspective, how has it been for her as a career woman, but at the same time as a mother, and at the same time as a wife. In all of this, how has she been able to maneuver through? But then also to give us a personal perspective or opinion on how different women are trying to cope up with such a kind of life. And this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Well, Monica, many thanks for joining us here on the Extra of today. But looking deeper into Women is the Celebrations, for the viewer out there, if we can start with the local theme for this year, from the Ugandan perspective, what should the viewers know about it?
Thank you, Jerome Paul, and good morning, dear viewers. Thank you so much for being with us. This week is International Women's Week, and on Friday 8th, we will be in Katakwi Boma Grounds commemorating the International Women's Day. And the international theme for the year 2024 is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. Now, back home, our local theme is Count Her In, Accelerating Gender Equality Through Economic Empowerment. And what this means is that what is good for the goose should be good for the gander. Now, to take you back a little bit, last year, the international theme was Embrace Equity. For so many years, we have been commemorating International Women's Day, and the focus has been on equality, that women should have the same rights as men in different aspects of life. Case in point, if a man has a right to vote, a woman should also have a right to vote. But comparing this year's theme to last year's theme, last year's theme about equity, embrace equity, it was more like, yes, you may have two women that are working and you need them to maybe earn a good amount of money, and that is the primary goal. But when you say equality, you're not looking at the different aspects that make them unique, because all of us start from somewhere.
Okay.
And I could be Olive able, I can walk, I can do everything. So the things I need at work, for my work to be smooth, for instance, we are on the second floor here, and I can easily get up the stairs to come to my place of work. But then there is a lady that has disabilities.
And cannot by herself come to the second floor.
Exactly. So in as much as she is earning the same money as I am, she may need extra attention in the way she needs. That's where equity comes in. So yes, equality is needed, but we need to look at equity. Equity focuses on different unique aspects of every woman. But coming back to this year's theme, accelerating gender equality through economic empowerment, we look at work, we look at employment, we look at entrepreneurship. How are we empowering these women to ensure that they can also share equitably in the national cake?
Well, you know, earlier on today, with the discussion you did have with Manuela Molondo in the morning in regards to women, or let's say mothers, new mothers in the employment space, it actually brought me to it's actually bringing me to my first question. When you look at the different workspaces and the kind of leaves they give to these women, at times you realize they are short-lived, if that is the word to use.
I like the pun.
Because, you know, for someone who has actually, you know, been around pregnant mothers who are my sisters, have realized that even 2 months of a leave isn't enough for a mother who has just given birth. And you do realize this is not something the employment world really focuses on, and it's too harsh for the mothers. If you're to look at the discussions that we can create around such a topic, what would be your opinion on that?
Well, towards the tail end of last year, there was a discussion that maternity leave should be increased from 6 months, from 3 months to 6 months. I actually want to clarify, maternity leave is not is not 3 months.
Okay.
It is 90 working days. Okay. And when you count carefully, you realize that those days are actually short of 3 months. Okay.
However much we look at it as
yes, so
as
so
3
most
months.
people think, oh, you've gotten all 31 days in March, all 30 days in April. No, I remember when I had my second child, I was now in the corporate world. I remember the HR calling me shortly before I made 3 months, saying, Olive, you are supposed to return to work today. I'm like, no, my leave still continues. I still have 2 weeks. She's like, no.
It's working
Your
days. So that means for someone who was given February and that month has 28 days.
Count 5 days in February the first week, 5 days in February the second week.
So you have to be counting all the working days that you're off.
Exactly. Of course, it works in your favor. Like this year, most public holidays are on a work day.
Yes.
So that pushes your leave further. But going back to the whole argument that maternity leave should be extended from 3 months to 6 months, that may not be viable. Why? And I am speaking as a lady that is in the corporate world, a mother, probably, by the way, you said I'm a wife, I'm not. But anyway, as a mom, and what I'm saying is this may not be viable for us. But instead, borrowing from the conversation I had with Manuela earlier, workplaces can come up with mechanisms that make it easy for mothers, new mothers, to go back to work. Instead of me asking for 6 months at home, because the 6 months are for what? For the baby, to breastfeed exclusively for 6 months. If I can lactate from my place of work, if we have a child minding center at the place of work, then I don't need 3 months at home.
True. Because
Because the honest truth is, when I'm at home, I'm away from breastfeeding the baby, I'm not doing anything. And then there is a brain freeze for the mother. When you're not, there is something we call baby brain when you have a baby, where you become forgetful. I will look for my phone when it is in my hands. Okay. So because you've moved from an area, an environment that makes you think and use your brain, because the brain is a muscle.
And there's also that stress that comes to it immediately
Exactly.
after.
When you're at work, you're exercising this muscle. The boss wants reports. You must do this. You must think of solutions here and there. When you're home, your brain, so to speak, is in the fridge. You're not really exercising it. So if you bring me back home if you bring me back to work after 3 months, but put in place measures that will make me comfortable. Manuela said, if my child is on the first floor and I'm on the 4th floor, I am going to concentrate. Because I know in case of an emergency, I'll be there in 2 minutes. But if my child is at home in Chira and I'm here at Nile Avenue, anything small that happens,
you're going to lose it.
I'm going to lose it because I don't know. The maid will say, the child is okay. But when in actual sense you reach there, the child is burning up. You're like, you should have told me the temperature was high. I didn't want to scare you. You can actually lose a child. You can, when it comes to children and their health, you can go from 1 to 100 in just a few minutes. But if there is a child minding center at the place of work being handled by professionals, then I will know that my child is in safe hands. And that is going to enable me to deliver at my place of work. And at the end of the day, the owner of the employer wins and I win. Because what's important to the employer?
As long as you're availing yourself to work,
Deliver.
You're giving in the services, you're delivering good results.
Exactly. So both of us are happy. I'm comfortable. My child is safe. You are comfortable. Olive is at her desk. There is a board meeting. I tell you, they won't tell you, oh, Olive is not yet here because she had taken the child for immunization. Immunization is being done at work. There is someone to handle my child so that in case of a fever, I can trust that the nurse minding the children will know how to handle the fever. And we all win.
And well, I want to believe most of the private companies, I'm using most simply because I believe most of them can employ close to 50 or above 50 people. And that means those companies can still avail such services if we are to put it in the economies of scale, really. Because not all the employees are female. And not all of them are mothers at the end of the day.
Exactly. That's why I talked about equity earlier, because what will appeal to a woman that has just had a baby is not the same thing that will appeal to a woman that probably has finished having children or they're not having children yet. So we need to have mechanisms that work for everyone in the work environment.
And also, I think it does give some room for security for anyone who is expecting to have a baby, and they are worried about job security and something like that.
You will gladly go back to work. After your maternity leave, you will gladly go back to work. Why I said that 6 months is not viable is look at how the economics of scale are today. If you are an employer yourself, you imagine here on Good Morning Uganda, it is you, it is me, it is Chantal, and it is Chirabo Robert. And if someone has to be away from work 3 months, rather for 6 months, and you're paying, do you honestly expect them to come back when the show is where it was when they left in January?
No.
Now you're coming back in July. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Exactly. Really. And where the world has got today, except for some Western countries where, first of all, their economies are really ahead, whereby someone can be out of work for a year or even 2 years, like in some countries in Europe. Some of them are not working. 2 full years. You're being paid and you're at home. But we need to look at our economy. We are not there yet. We cannot take women out of the workforce for 6 months. But if we create mechanisms, like we said earlier, that make them comfortable to come back to work, then you don't even need the 6 months. Because you know what will happen? If you insist on the 6 months, then employers will stop hiring us. They will say, you're 28? This one. Are you married?
Are you married?
Just got married.
Are you a mother?
This one is going to start having babies.
Are you a mother?
You get.
Yeah, exactly.
So because of that, it will work to our disadvantage as women. Of course, resting is good.
Because no employer wants to employ someone who won't be there for half a year.
Imagine most businesses in this country are SMEs, okay? And maybe the informal sector. Please tell me, if someone who owns a boutique will give you 6 months.
If they give it to you, it's because they won't be paying you. And they'll be like, your job will be here. If I told you you're done, you come back.
Are you even sure the job will be there? Because the boutique
chances
business
are very
will
limited.
not stop.
Yeah, chances are limited.
Exactly.
Well, and of course, our conversation is still ongoing. I don't know, you can share your views. Especially, it will be even better if you're a mother or if you're a woman out there to share your views on what should be done, and especially how you handle the two. Well, Monica, when you also look at the work environment, now today we are in a space, you are a mother, you're working.
Yes.
This is a very tough conversation in most families. And I've also realized there are certain marriages that fail out due to the fact that the woman is working, and some husbands are not of the idea of having a working wife. And we can all agree with the kind of society that we grew up from. At times in the African world, African setting, women were never looked at as breadwinners, if I'm to put it in that way, or they were always looked at as stay-at-home wives. Things are changing now. Yes. The economy is actually not allowing anyone to just sit back and relax, simply because many are going to school, and once you go to school, the chances are you're going to be focusing on your career, regardless of the fact that you're also a family person. And we have seen many career women succeeding. We've seen many with marriage succeeding still with their work, and of course the challenges are always there, of which we are here to address some of them. But let's look at balancing the life, family life and work. How easy is it, or how hard is it at times?
Well, when we look at work-life balance, first of all, what does it mean? It means being in position to basically, let's say it is a weighing scale. You should be in position to handle your work affairs and your home life in an equivalent manner. What do I mean? You should work at your job and do your role at your job without it interfering with your role at home. And the reverse is true. If I am at work at home, my work should not interfere with my home. So how do you balance that as a woman? Well, it's not easy, because among the so many caps that we wear as women, you see, a man will wear 2 caps. He will be a husband. Okay, he will be a husband and a father and an employee. And then there is me. There is me being a woman. There is me being the mom. There is me being the employee. On the surface, these look like the same caps, right? But when we go deeper, let's say being a mother and being a father, for the most part, you'll find that for most gentlemen, being a father, in most cases, especially in the child's formative years, it is buying the milk. When they start school, paying the fees. Paying the fees, asking, is the kid okay? Is the child okay? Yeah, today we have a few fathers that are hands-on, and kudos to them. I love seeing men picking up children, dropping children at school and whatnot. But the primary caregivers in most homes are still mothers. If both of us have jobs, I'm here on Good Morning Uganda and my husband is somewhere else working, you will find that if my child is sick at school, the first person they're going to call is me. And then in case they can't get me, that's when they'll call him. Guess what is going to happen? He will call me. Exactly. The school is the school says the baby is sick. And who of the two of us? The statement is normally Omwana Omurade. Thank you so much. So who of the two of us is going to leave work to go take care of the child? In most cases, it is the woman. Now, I'm not saying there are no men who do this. They exist today, but in most cases, the primary minders, the primary caregivers to children, especially between, let's say, at 0 to 6 months, what is the father going to do? Except if the mother is deceased. If the mother is there, 0 to 6 months is going to be the mom. So balancing these two in most cases is not easy. The boss is expecting you to deliver 150%. The husband wants your attention. The children want your attention, and you also need time for yourself, because self-care is important. And if you take care of yourself as a woman, that's when everyone around you is going to be okay. Because in most cases, what happens, people are overworking. You're giving in too much at work. You're giving in too much at home. You're not taking care of yourself as the primary person in these relationships, work and home. And guess what? You're going to experience burnout. Indeed. And burnouts are very evident in regards to the way you deliver at work. Thank you. The results are always going to be different from who you are initially. And of course, women do face quite a number of issues, by the way, besides the fact that you look at them as mothers and at the same time having to balance work with family. But then there are also other, women-related issues. That is why we normally dub them a vulnerable kind of gender. However much we seek for the equity, there's always that kind of relaxed environment we need to create for the women or the mothers. And this week, as we speak economic empowerment, I think this is the right generation where such conversations need to be brought to book. Monica, when you look at empowering the women, even besides looking at women as family, family drivers and everything, economic empowerment today, it has become so evident, because when you look at what the economy is, okay, it's now by default, everyone really needs to have some money on them. But empowering women, especially the young women today, in regards to pushing themselves to work, it is really hard. But how do we empower these young women, especially those who are, unemployed, but they are eager to get into these spaces? Then the small business owners, how do we empower them to comfortably know that things will soon change? Well, when you speak about empowering women and women of all walks of life, I would like for you to also know that poverty in Uganda has a predominantly female face. Okay. And the women that are mostly marginalized when it comes to this, you'll find that in as much as 69% of homesteads in Uganda are male-headed, you also have 31% female-headed. Now, when it goes to the women that are widowed or divorced, poverty there is at 17% as compared to their unmarried counterparts at 2%. So the numbers are not really exciting. So how do we empower them? First of all, let us support their initiatives. When you go to markets, you will actually, I think you've heard of Bibina.
Yes.
What you would want to call circles.
Circles.
Women in these circles have over the years, so many years. By the way, I have experience in that kind of setting because one of my parents worked in that kind of setting, and I've known all my life that these women come together to save money. But in most cases, what are they saving for? They are saving so that they can build a house. They are saving so that they can, actually it is cash round. It's not even a circle. For most of them, it's cash round. This month it is Sonko getting, next month it is Olive getting, this month it is someone else getting. But if we encourage them to actually form circles instead, where they can put a certain amount of money every month, and at the end of the day, if I need a loan, it is February, like right now, tomorrow, USCE results are coming back. And those students that sat senior 6 exams will have to join university. Now, if I'm part of a circle, if a woman is part of a circle and she doesn't have the money, you know what she's going to do? She will go to the circle and get a loan that will enable her to take her child to university. So let us support their initiatives. Instead of cash rounds, let us encourage the women to actually form circles. Then in the SME businesses, people in Uganda don't like partnerships. You have a brilliant idea, but probably you're not good at networking and sourcing for funding. We need to encourage women that it is okay for Najuma to work with a Kandinda, to come together. Me, I will work out on the idea. I will make sure it is super perfect. A Kandinda will source for funding. She will get people in the same room as me so that they can invest in my idea. These are some of the things that will propel women to greater heights, especially economically. But also it is said that women in most cases have no access to loans from, let's say, microfinance organizations, from banks.
They have no collateral, most of them.
Thank you, I was coming to that. Why? In most cases, they have no collateral. So in as much as I understand this is how the business works, can we come up with ways that can actually help women to access credit facilities so that they reinvest in their businesses and then invest in their children, and later on we are going to have a workforce that is probably well educated, innovative and creative, and then we'll get to the next level. But also the other thing, have you noticed that many women today, I am a woman who studied arts, but I feel like maybe had I been encouraged and pushed to go for the sciences, maybe my life would be even different. Not that I'm complaining.
Yes.
So why we need to encourage more girls to get interested in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In most cases, girls are studying literature and English. No problem with literature and English. I love literature and English.
I was about to ask.
No. That was my favorite subject of all time. But why is it that when you enter a science class, you're going to find, let's say, 15 boys doing chemistry and 3 girls? Why? Is it because men have better brains than women?
And it's not like that, though.
It's not. So we need to encourage our girls to actually embrace STEM, to embrace technology, mathematics, to become more innovative and creative. When you look at the companies of today, let's say Amazon, let's say Facebook, let's say X, who are the founders? Men. Which is perfect, but can we see more women getting into these fields?
And starting up their own.
Yes, last week I was at an education fair and I had a conversation with this young woman. I asked her, because it was, they were coming from an international school. They have a program called Ontario Senior Secondary School Diploma. So they are studying online, but it is creating a pathway for them to choose a career of their liking that they are going to go ahead and pursue in an institution, whether in Canada or the United States, around the world. So I asked her, what are you looking at studying? And she told me, I want to study astrophysics and marine biology. But she didn't stop at that.
Okay.
She went deep down and said, I was like, so are you envisioning working at NASA? She's like, no, I actually don't want to work at NASA. I want to finish my bachelor's, then do my master's, then get my PhD. And the reason why I want to do this is because I mostly want to give my time to research, start my own company where we dedicate ourselves to research, work with like-minded people on research. So I asked her, when you're done with this, are you planning to come home and, let us benefit
from your knowledge?
From your knowledge. And she said, yes. We are lacking so much right now as a country. We are lagging behind as a country. And the reason why I want to do this is because I want my country to come to the drawing table with the superpowers. I loved this conversation with this young woman. I was like, if only, and she was like 16. And I was like, if only more girls can have these conversations. And again, I know the beauty industry has lots of money in it, but I want more girls not to think about doing hair, cosmetics. Let's get into the thick of things.
Okay, where the bigger monies are.
Not even just bigger monies. Let me tell you, it's a big uncharted environment.
I know. And the spaces are really there, by the way. Even for the men, not so many men are in there or earning as much as we expect. But of course, if you continue having the competitions in such spaces, you're keeping everyone off their feet to make sure that the women are in these spaces and they can easily take over. Within no time.
Yeah, maybe to a degree the men have become so comfortable because they know whatever is there, they can only compete against fellow men. Maybe they need a few women to wake them up. Okay.
And getting into workspaces, Olive.
Yeah.
I know how hard it is at times for the women. I've interacted with quite a number of former work colleagues and then others who are still in the employment space. Some of them have issues at hand. And I don't know if you've encountered as many as such. If you're to go back through your employment space, your employment journey rather, what are some of those key hardships that you feel have been a deterrent in one way or the other?
I will go back to actually school.
Okay.
I believe that you and I have seen many headlines of a teacher molested a child.
This child, true.
Teacher defiled a child. Now, cases of boys are coming up, but majority of the cases are women. One of the key issues women in this country are grappling with is sexual harassment. And it starts in schools. You remember the story of a Makerere University lecturer that was filmed as he was trying to get his way with a student who was following up on her marks. Exactly. Last year I saw a conversation between a student and a lecturer of another university on Entebbe Road. Same thing. Student is following up about a test and he's like, can we meet somewhere and have a good time? And of course you remember, was it in January or December, the teacher who was caught in someone else's home allegedly? It was
around December.
Exactly. Many more stories like this are happening. I think to a degree, society has normalized these things. So when it comes to the places of work, many women will tell you, yes, the government says in the Constitution, there are sections that are predominantly put there to defend the rights of women. There is Section 32, which talks about human rights of women. There is 180, Clause Section 2, which now this one goes ahead to tell workplaces to have policies against sexual harassment in places of work. But I would like to borrow from Manuela earlier. She said, we have so many policies, but implementation. You've had stories of women saying, I was harassed, and people are like, but if you agreed, then that was not harassment.
That's
but
not
it was
harassment.
coercion. It was under duress. Someone said, do this or you'll lose your job. And sometimes someone
and then you
looks
realize
at
all the things you've been through with life, and
thank you so much. Sometimes a woman looks at, what did I go through to get this job? How many years did it
if I
take me
lose
to get
it,
this
what
job?
is going to happen to me?
Exactly.
So you think about all of that.
So your dignity is taken away, and someone has the guts to say, well, you accepted. You could have quit. Now, I think you should quit, because if this is going on and you talk to HR and no one comes to your rescue, and probably the person that is trying to harass you, it has so much power over you, and all avenues of reporting have failed, then you need to get out of that situation. But that is me. There is someone who will be like, Olive, my entire clan depends on me. I might as well just get with it. But at the end of the day, as a woman, it puts you down. People don't understand the effect sexual harassment has on women. And many women in the corporate space, and even those working in the informal sector, are grappling with the same. People don't know that even just shaking my hand and you scratch me in the middle
is harassment.
It is harassment. I'm walking past you and you tap my behind. That is not a place for you to touch, you get. But people have normalized these things. Now you behave like an adult. What do you mean an adult? This is my body, but this is what is happening. So if you ask me about some of the challenges, some of them I've not experienced personally, but I have friends in the corporate space. I read a lot about women in the corporate space. You read reports by human rights organizations about sexual harassment, and it is at an all-time high. Especially in universities and places of work.
Wow.
And so we need to be more protected. The Constitution, yes, the Constitution provides for these policies, but who is following up on the implementation? I think this is where the Ministry of Works, Labour and Social Development comes in. Okay, but these are things these are conversations we need to continue having. But also, Sonko, I think, like I said, society has normalized some of these things, and you will be surprised to find that some women actually don't think they have a right to say no.
So to them, it's a space that is dominated by men, and if a man says this, I can't say no.
You can't say no. He's the boss. He's the boss. So you'll do whatever the boss says, even if you hate it. Some of these women are wives. Some of them are mothers. Imagine with the prevalence of HIV, you're at work and you're being put in this situation. You don't even know if when you go home, you're okay or you're going to infect your partner. And this is, as many won't come out, because when they come out, you've seen how the reaction from the community.
Yes.
Just recently, a young man came out and he said he was harassed in the car by someone he called a friend. And guess what? Many people doubted his story. But do you know how much effort it could have taken him to come out
and publicly tell his side of the story?
Thank you. Now imagine this has become a normalcy for many women in the corporate space.
And they just keep quiet, keep silent, die with the depression, and you know nothing about what is happening.
Some will resign, and you keep asking, why did you quit your job? You seem to be doing okay. But they can't share, because you see, when a woman is raped or sexually harassed, the first feeling they experience is shame. And then self-blame. Did I do something to cause this? Is it the way I dress? Is it the way I smile? Is it the way I sit? Everything becomes inward. Me, 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 me. And so
self-victimization.
We victimize ourselves, but actually we have been violated. Someone else needs to take the blame, but we take the blame because men have power.
Oh, wow. And, you know, the hard part is the people to talk to. At times you realize the women have no people to talk to. And when you ask them, do you have a mentor? Again, the mentor is a male. I don't know if it's something that we really need to look into. Have women themselves created spaces to help the young women, or maybe colleagues, to come and open to them? I know at times it's difficult to deal with issues. A woman may come and tell you the same issue you're facing, and again, it's like it's completely, both of you now have no one to talk to at the end of the day. And when you look at the mentors, again, it's like you're looking for the prey itself.
No, yeah, that depends. Because, you know, when we talk about mentorship, mentorship comes in different facets. Sometimes your mentor is someone that is mentoring you in your work environment, in your career, or basically your career, yes. Career mentorship. But sometimes you have a spiritual mentor, or you have someone that is walking life with you as a woman. So it also depends. If you want someone to walk life with you as a woman, then most definitely look out for a fellow woman. They will understand, and probably, let's say if I'm in the corporate space, I might seek mentorship of someone that has been here longer than I have been, to learn at their feet and know how best they persevered. How did they get through certain doors? Because even away from harassment, when it comes to career, you may need to talk to a fellow woman still in your field to understand how they managed to get where they are today. Okay, like for instance, if I'm in the media, I work for UBC, I may consider having a conversation with Sophie and be like, how have you made it? What are some of the challenges you've gone through? Yes. Because as a woman, I believe she will give it to me straight. Be honest with me. If you're seeking for maybe, so there is that woman, she has given you the guidance, and then that's where the males come in. We should not say, don't work with men because men are going to prey on you. Maybe we need to change the conversation. I was telling someone yesterday, today's conversation, when it comes to protection, someone was saying, you saw in the news yesterday, the other day, France passed the abortion law protecting the right to abortion. And a man was like, women are giving men the right to violate them. After all, they know they will have an abortion. And my argument was, we need to call men to order, so that they are responsible human beings, okay? My thoughts on abortion notwithstanding, I won't go into that. But what I was saying was that everything a woman has to worry about, it is a man. Dress well because men. Don't walk at night because men. Don't pass in this place because men.
Patriarchy still, still leads.
We are supposed to protect ourselves from?
Yourselves.
From men.
Oh. Okay. Let's call men to order. Let's instead of us being afraid of, you know, men. I want guidance. I want mentorship from you. But now I'm afraid that you may want to prey on me. Why don't we instead call men to order? And you know, at times you get to realize, by the way, to my brothers, that you're supposed to provide safe space, and it's very, very worrying. If you ask many women, why don't we have male friends? And then they will tell you the reason as why I do not feel confident or to confide in a man is simply because of anything can happen from this person. You will try to build a brotherhood kind of relationship with this person while they are seeing something else. And again, I normally tell men, you have to be ready mentally, physically, or let's say emotionally ready for anything that happens once you're dealing with a woman, let's say in the sexual way. That you have to be ready for the repercussions in relation to the abortion.
When you lay with the woman, you might as well prepare your mind to being a father.
To being a father. The same way she's going to prepare herself
for potentially being a
because
mother.
In the abortion process, she might lose her life.
We should not actually be forwarding abortion.
Exactly.
Yes.
However safe, some people will tell you that they can offer the services.
Yes.
I'm telling you, anything can happen during the same.
Exactly. So instead of fronting abortion, we should front calling both parties to order. Okay? And since the current family planning methods mainly are for women, then the men should encourage the women to embrace family planning.
the most active family planning method for the men is one they also don't want to use. Anyway,
and that conversation actually goes away from family planning, and now it goes also to HIV infection, where many men do not want to use protection.
And besides that, also there are other related infections, by the way, that are even more severe as well.
Exactly, like herpes, you will live with it for the rest of your life.
So I think these are conversations that men need to be, brought to, to the same table of discussion. As long as we are pushing the women, we need to also look at the men. What should you do to make an environment friendly and healthier? I think creating a healthier space for the women is important.
It is. It is important, because when a woman is in a safe space, she's going to thrive. If if my mental health is in a good place, I don't have to worry that if I go to work dressed like this, by the way, it can be very, very subtle. I am a woman. Maybe you can help me understand how the mind of a man works. Because a woman will be in a full hijab and a man will get ideas. You get?
It really depends.
So if I know that I am safe, obviously, even us as women, we need to take responsibility. There are things you should not wear just for your own self-protection. Now, I understand we need to call men to order. But before the men are to come to order, you need to take your personal safety into consideration. How do you dress when you're going to certain places? How long should you hang out with someone of the opposite gender in an enclosed place? Is it safe for you? And these are conversations that go beyond the workplace to our girl children. Today we've grown up thinking that because of what the media presents to us, that it's okay for girls to be friends with boys, and indeed it is okay, but boys are boys and girls are girls.
True.
So until men are called to order,
that are definitely going to go overboard.
There are conversations that parents must have with their children, especially. By the way, let me tell you, it's never too early to start talking about certain things with your girl children. You can start the moment you see that she's like 7. Even at 4, there is child friendly conversations you'll have. You'll talk about bad touches and whatnot. And then when they're 7, 8, 9, 10, the conversation transitions. When they become preteens, the conversation transitions. Let us equip young women with information that will guide them as they walk womanhood.
Well, Monica, as we talk about empowering women, I want you to comment on the fact that we also have women pulling down women. In the element of competition, in the name of competition. Obviously, in the work environment, these are things that are very, realistic, or they are really happening. Even as we speak today, you realize there is someone out there who's plotting to see a fellow woman leave office or leave a certain position simply because she either wants herself in the same, or she would rather see a man in there than a woman. That is also something as of today, because in certain work environments, you realize for the men who are more professional, they are really free to interact with the women professionally. But then when it comes to the women themselves, at times they become enemies of progress to one another. A comment on that?
Well, to be fair, actually, to be honest, men work well together. Even when they're competing, you may not really see it on the surface.
Apart from the egoistic ones, obviously.
Yes, that's a whole other story. But as women, I think the problem comes in because, first of all, how are we engineered? We are biologically, emotionally engineered as women. And because of that, we don't know how to subtly compete. We will mix the emotional with the professional. You get. I will come in here or walk into a workplace. I remember when I was a banker, you'd walk in one morning, you're really dressed to the nines, and everyone is like, "Oh, Olive, you're very smart." And then there is this workmate who is like, "What are you even saying?"
I'm more smarter.
I'm smarter.
Things start from
there.
And
someone will start having an issue with you.
Not professionally, but it's now going personal.
Going personal. Now imagine if this person is your boss. You walk in, and the way you look, actually one time, can I share a personal experience?
Sure.
I was a teller teller is like the lowest level of banking. So when I started as a banker, my first position in that bank, I was a teller. But I've always liked to dress up. So one time I had been transferred from one branch out of Kampala to the main branch. And as I was standing behind the till area, there are new tellers that had come. So our boss was showing them around. And then when she reached me, she said, "This is Olive. She's also a teller. Don't mind how she's dressed. I swear to God." She said it. And I remember in the beginning, I had so much difficulty working with her. She would yell, many things, but nothing. I had never done anything wrong to her. And it was never about my job. But you would find that nothing you do pleases her.
Okay.
So you're going to find that there is a lady out there that doesn't like another lady because of different things. You know, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. When you see yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Someone what may not like what they see in the mirror.
The two gentlemen on the team here refuse you to use that word.
No, let's rebel and Robert, forgive me. All I'm saying is, if you do not like who you are, sometimes you're going to make everyone else around you uncomfortable. But as women, we cannot favorably compete in the job market, in the employment world, with such petty fights.
True.
If I have not attacked you and called you names, because I don't walk around saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm pretty and I know it." No, because I know that when I come to this job, what matters is content.
Exactly.
What comes out of me? What am I saying?
The others is just the extra factor of
Those
your
things,
personality.
by the way, don't even matter. And if there is a young woman out there who thinks that because you're pretty, you're going to make it in the corporate world, you are not.
You're going to compete with fierce professionals.
Instead, you're going to be used. When you want to, if you want to make it as a woman in the corporate space, please forget about your face.
And on that matter, your parting shots should have advice to the young women. Why am I focusing on the young women?
Yes.
It's because we have so many of those with dreams, goals, desires. Many are just starting to work. Many are fresh into the market, looking for jobs, yearning, enthusiastic, call it whatever you want. But they do not have direction whatsoever.
Well, as you venture into the work world as a young woman, like I said, you should not even think about the fact that you're pretty. It is nice to be pretty, but if that is the only, if it is the only source of encouragement you have, then I'm afraid you're going to fail, and you're going to fail miserably, because today's work, and I think even yesterday's work really, it is about what you can put to the table of your employer. Can you deliver? So work on having the necessary skills that are required by your employer, rather than thinking, I'm pretty and so I'll get the job. No, that's not how things work. That's not, except if you're going into a modeling agency, then your beauty matters. But be it media, even on TV, by the way, your beauty still doesn't matter. If what you're going to say is...
your lifespan in the industry will not last.
It will not last, because you're here, for instance, here at UBC, our mandate is to educate, inspire, and entertain. So are you going to educate? Okay, sit in front of the TV. And then be quiet, just smile. It's not going to work. So what I'm saying is, have the necessary skills that are required in your field. Work hard. Work on being so good at what you do that even when you're not in a room, there are people who are going to mention your name for a certain position, a certain opportunity. That's how you grow in this environment. Otherwise, the world out there is not very easy, but we try and we work hard. You must believe in yourself as a woman, and you should not think that everyone is out to get you. No, you should focus on self-growth and being the best you can be.
And well, a world that I truly want to see is seeing women recommending fellow women into employment spaces. Women also supporting fellow women as well, because that way we're going to see an active kind of empowerment. As much as we are pushing for the men to continue pushing these women into these spaces and looking for equality, we also want the women to be supportive to one another. Not only supportive in content creation, but also supportive in business, supportive in the social life and everything. Olive Monica Najuma, as well as Chantal Oliver Kandinda, are among the women we work with here. But behind the cameras or behind production, we also have quite a number of women on the team. So that clearly shows you we do have many here, and we are also very supportive of the same. She has been here representing a huge portion of the women in the corporate space and giving her side of the story as well. For all of you who have been part of us since the time we kicked off, that is 6:30 a.m. to this hour of 10, with only 2 minutes to 10 a.m. Many thanks, and we shall surely do this same time tomorrow from 6:30 a.m. to 10. This is Good Morning Uganda. It has been the extra hour of the show from 9 o'clock to 10. Have yourselves a good day and a blessed week of celebrating women.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Pick of the day.